we're doing tonight is a community meeting for the fossil fire complex. It's a good chance to share information with you all. We'll have a little bit of time later for questions. My name is Ron Graham. I'm a liaison with the Oregon Department of Forestry Incident Management Team that is managing the fossil complex. I will be the facilitator for the community meeting tonight. We'll have a series of people that are going to come up and give you some information, give you a little bit of background. That's how we'll start. We'll talk about these fires within the fossil complex, how and when they started. You'll get an operational update on what's going on the wildland fire side of things, as well as an update from structural protection. We'll give you an update on the status of evacuations, share with you our latest weather update, and then share a little bit more about public information and communication. We'll hear from our agency administrator, and then close with our incident commander. As you came through the doorway, there's some handouts on the table with all the fire information, fire maps, good stuff you can grab on the way out. Once we get done with this formal briefing part, we'll have people located at the maps in the back corner as well as up here. So if you want to come up, if you have any questions, you can grab any of us and ask questions then. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. And at the breakout sessions, we also have a couple of guests. We have Kayla Mims from the Farm Service Agency and Cassie Newton from the Wheelers Soil and Water Conservation District, and they can talk to you a little bit about post-fire recovery, and they'll be in the back as well. All right. So the fossil complex. The fossil complex is a series of 5 fires. The first fire started on the 3rd of September, approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When the Oregon Department of Forestry Incident Management Team was ordered, we assumed control of this complex. There was 4 fires, and that was on September 6th at 6 p.m. Since then, there's been a 5th fire, which we'll talk at length in detail about the service fire that's been added to the complex, as well as the resources assisted on 2 other initial attacks in the area as well. We currently have over 1,150 personnel assigned to the incident. That number is growing as we get more of the resources in yet in the next couple of days. Current total estimated size of the 5 fires in the complex is 22,439 acres. We'll talk a little bit about each of the fires in the complex and the status of those when we do the operational update. We've got a whole bunch of aviation resources assigned to the incident as well. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the helicopters, air tankers flying around throughout the last couple of days. As you know, the fire's been burning in timber and grass. Most of the grass is what's carrying the fire in the understory, but we've seen active fire behavior in the timber, producing spot fires, wind-driven runs, torching, short ground runs, and changing winds. I'm sure most of you that live here are very familiar with the changing winds between daytime and nighttime, and that's been really challenging. And that's led to the significant fire growth that we've had. We're still currently under all 3 evacuation levels, level 1, 2, and 3, ready, set, and go. And we'll touch on those again later. So with that, let's go ahead and move right into our first speaker, and that's going to be John Tillotson. John is our Operations Section Chief.
Good evening. I'll speak to the smaller fires here first, and they're much easier to speak of at this point in time, but the 2 cabin fire, the Canyon fire, the Holmes fire, and the Kinzu fire are all been mopped up and they're in patrol status. We've got engines checking those off and on over the next few days And then if we need to, we'll have the air group come fly over them if we need to. But those are all in good shape. And this moisture is really helping with the portions of those that they did dig up. All the moisture and humidity helps those get cooled off even further. Use switch map here, okay. Use this one. The service fire, as you know, it started over here in the middle, in the drain up here between the two service creeks. That first night that happened, that's when we came on shift here, and they did get a line around it. However, there were some draws in there with wind shifts. They didn't have enough resources to get on it, so that evening it ended up getting across those lines the next day, and it obviously expanded and did that. But we started anchoring in on the south end on the fire here, and then got line out on the highway here. So this is what we're calling Division Alpha on that side there, and that's in full mop-up mode where we're making sure we're not going to have any risk there, and they're working further in there so we don't have snags and that kind of thing coming down on the highway. And it's looking really good along that portion of the fire. Up here on what we're calling Division Golf, much the same on the western portion of Golf. And today they were really tightening up the lines over here on the north side of Golf and going right to the edge of the fire versus an indirect line where we would have to burn out with the weather, allowing us to do that. And then come around over here, what we're calling Juliet and Lima. They're just a day or two behind Golf. They were working on lines further out, and along with the landowners, with their dozers and everything else, that the lines that they had already established, we're tying those together, improving those, and now getting more direct on those lines. Out here in Sierra, that's the portion of the fire that has the least amount of control lines that we've established officially between each of our divisions, but we do have a bunch of roads and landowner established lines, and then our folks that have been out there reinforcing and coming in behind and fixing those up. And then that's where our increase of resources will be over the next few shifts over here in Sierra, so that we can really get in there and hold those where they're at. And Whiskey, really tough ground in here. We're going to end up with quite a few hand crews working around in the terrain there, but it's looking good at this point. But we know as it dries out, then swine fuels are going to be an issue. So that's a big chunk of ground there that we're going to move a lot of the hand crews that we do have over on the west side of the fire up in this country, so that we can get those taken care of in here. Whiskey division is this portion here, and it's holding pretty good along the highway here. It just has the most recent activity here, and so they'll be working on mopping up in there. But really, all in all, with the weather here, that really, as you know, is the best thing that we could have hoped for, with not having those shifting winds each evening in a different direction from where we have been working and concentrating the work. But I'll be here and available for questions after I'm done.
All right, thanks, John. Well, we're focused mainly at the Oregon Department of Forestry on fighting the wildland fire, with all the great help from Wheeler County Fire and Rescue, the Wheeler Rangeland Protective Association, all of the local landowners and folks that have been out there fighting. We've also had another partner helping us through the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office, and Chad Hawkins. He's their agency representative for those task forces of fire departments that have responded, and Chad's going to give you a little background on what the Oregon State Fire Marshal does and what they've been doing to protect the homes out there. Chad.
Yeah, thank you, Ron, and welcome everyone. So the State Fire Marshal's office basically surges resources across the state related to protection of structures, life and property, and in this case in harmony with the Oregon Department of Forestry. We were currently last week at the Shoe Fly fire, and as that fire ended kind of that structural protection threat, we received a phone call from the local Fire Defense Board Chief Holmes saying we need some additional resources to come over here and help out, as the structural protection assets were pretty thin and had been working long hours. So we were able to move 2 task forces over here from the Shoe Fly fire, where we got established, integrated with the Oregon Department of Forestry and their operations section, and really start going to town and doing good work. As the fire progressed down along, Division Alpha into Division Whiskey or whatnot, and started spreading into some of those ranches, communities, that had the lodges and things like that, we realized really quick that the 2 task forces we had were not going to be enough. And so Monday night, the Conflagration Act was requested by the Office of State Fire Marshal in conjunction with the Fire Defense Board Chief and approved by the governor, which actually allowed us to get 2 additional task forces. It basically allows us to just receive and be able to support additional structural units. So we had a total of 4 here starting on Monday night. I'm happy to say that with the coordination of the Oregon Department of Forestry, our structural units really did some amazing work. I'll tell you some of those kind of points that the Operations Sections Chief said about the intensity of the fire. Some of these folks had said it was the most intense fire that they had seen in 25 years, going on conflags the entire time in those 25 years. Saving lodges, saving some of those residents was pretty near and dear to their hearts, because many of them, although we aren't locals necessarily, hunt, fish, vacation out in this part of the country. So it's not our piece of land, but we treat it as such. And like I said, those folks, some of the videos I have are pretty incredible, and the hours they worked to make sure all those structures were saved at this point was paramount. And the last thing I'd want to say is just that the fossil community in particular, having had our 19 conflagrations declared across the state of Oregon this year, is the most in the history of the Oregon State Fire Marshal. 19 is a big number. This is number 19. Fossil has been just the most welcoming and open community to us, our task force members, whether it's cookies or food. You guys have been super receptive, opening your doors, your arms and your hearts to us, and so we really appreciate that. But with that, I'll be available afterwards for questions if you have them. Thanks, Ron.
All right, thank you, Chad. Next up to talk about evacuations is going to be Jeremiah Holmes.
The evacuation, there's maps in the back if you have any questions about the evacuations or where it particularly is. I think probably the thing that I wanted to touch on the most is that the evacuation levels went up a dramatic amount in the last 24 hours prior to this rain. And it was because of the erratic fire behavior and the things that we were seeing. We'd be thinking that the fire is going to be headed north, and all of a sudden it take off and go to the east or the west. And because of that, we had to kind of put a big net around it and make the evacuation level larger so that we could inform everybody possible because of the erratic fire behavior. I would expect to see the evacuation levels going down pretty quick. We got the rain, and so it put this fire kind of down a little bit. But until we get it secured, until we get the line secured and we know that individuals are safe, the evacuation levels will probably be staying for at least another day or so.
All right, next up, probably one of the most exciting and timely topics right now is going to be a weather update from our incident meteorologist, Mary Wister. She's our favorite person right now, by the way.
Glad to hear that. Thank you. Yeah, I know everyone is definitely happy to hear and see the showers that did occur today, but Mother Nature is an overachiever, and they had to have a thunderstorm thrown in it too. But fortunately, the thunderstorm did bring some heavy rain, but not much wind and occasional lightning. So, yeah, the showers that we had today has been pretty much ranging from about 1,500 to 3/10. I did put a rain gauge out at the fairgrounds, and I measured 3/10 here. So. Just to let you know again, my name is Mary Wister. I am an incident meteorologist, and I come from the National Weather Service in Pendleton. And an incident meteorologist is a person who is called out to provide on-site weather support for incident management teams. And I've been in the National Weather Service for 32 years, and most of it has been in Pendleton. And like Chad had said, this is definitely an historical event. Just not so much the number of wildfires that have occurred in eastern Oregon, the thunderstorms. A lot of these thunderstorms that we've had this season have had not much rain, so technically they are dry thunderstorms. And the night of September 2nd, September 3rd was no exception. I was working the graveyard shift, and it just killed me to see so much lightning and very little rain. What I do have on the side is a map that shows you the lightning strikes that occurred in that 24-hour period. In Wheeler County alone, there was 153 strikes. That's insane when you think about such a kind of a small county compared to other counties in Eastern Oregon. So since then, when I was called out to help out with the team, which was an honor, we've had to deal with some hot, dry, unstable conditions and the shifting winds. And yeah, as it's been brought up, like John talked about, the terrain here is really complex, and the daytime, nighttime wind shifts can get really, really complicated. And that's exactly what's been observed. But fortunately, we did have the showers today. We've had the cooler temperatures, the higher relative humidities, and I'm feeling optimistic that we're going to continue to see that for the next 7 days. So tomorrow, Friday, is looking to be relatively dry days, but seasonal temperatures, nothing too high in the temperatures or too low in the humidities. We'll still see a little bit of the breezy winds on Thursday. Sunday, late Sunday on through mid of next week, we're looking at additional showers. This system coming through early next week looks a lot like what we got today. So the chance of getting this wetting rain is looking high. May see a thunderstorm, but fortunately, if it does have a thunderstorm, it's going to have some rain with it. So I don't want to say that this is a season-ending event. I think that would be too optimistic. As John brought up, there's still some dry fuels out there. And so, but I will say this is going to be what we may term as a season slowing event. Again, I'm on the side if you have any questions, and thanks everyone.
All right, thanks, Mary. Next up is our Public Information Officer, Al DeVos.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to, first of all, thank you for coming and joining us tonight. We have been putting information out in quite a few ways, and one thing that's really important to us is to provide an opportunity for community to meet with us, to ask questions, and to have that back and forth of information. In the back, there are some flyers that show some of the different ways that we're getting information out to you. And in Fossil, if you're looking for daily information updates, we have it at the General Mercantile, City Hall, and the City Library. We're posting our updates. We also use a site called NCWeb, and there's a link to it on here. And if you go up to NCWeb, they have a map of the whole country, and you just zoom into the state, and you can find this fire, any fire, click on it, and then our update information is posted there. Aside from this community meeting, because Highway 19 has been closed, we're also having another meeting tomorrow night in Sprague for the people that live in that direction that can't get through the closed highway. So it's important to us as an incident management team to really come in and support the local community, the sheriff's office, fire departments, emergency management, in any way that we can, aside from fighting the fire. And so some of that is just helping to get the information out. We have people that are experts in logistics, and they can set up communications towers and go from a camp that is feeding 200 people and suddenly now getting up to 1,000 people or more, 3 meals a day, and feeding them and giving them places to be and managing traffic and safety and communications and all of that. We have people that are doing plans that are just constantly throughout the day making maps so that we can communicate with our crews and everybody can work in coordination and follow what our leader's intent is. And there's people that do things, I have no idea what they do, how they do it in this short time, because it's amazing. But I do know as a team we're full service, and we don't all do these jobs year round. We do it, we're on the team, we train, and when there's need in the state, we come together and answer that need. And so I'm happy to be here as an information officer, and it's not because I'm happy because it's what I do, but I'm happy that we're able to support the community, and that's our motive. Our underwriting goal as a team is really to come to communities, support them in a time of need, make relationships, build relationships, and hopefully leave in as best condition that we can considering the situation. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to pass on to the next.
Thank you, Al. All right, when we see a lot of fires like this, typically if our local districts or those responsible aren't able to handle all the fires they have and put them out, they'll ask for an incident management team. In the case of Oregon Department of Forestry, that delegation is from our district forester. Typically, our district forester would be here as our agency administrator. That is our person that we are working for. They give this team a delegation that says, we want you to do this work. Currently, our Central Oregon district and still much of our Eastern Oregon area has multiple fires going on. When that happens, we often work for a deputy agency administrator. And tonight we're going to have Dustin Gustavson come up and talk as the deputy agency administrator. Dustin's our unit forester here out of Fossil.
Hey, good evening. Dustin Gustavson, unit forester for the John Day Fossil unit of the Oregon Department of Forestry. You know, Mary mentioned the other day we had that lightning come through, and a couple things I want to point out on that. The bulk of it was here in Wheeler County and a little bit over in Grant. I think all told, our unit had 21 fires, and 15 of those we were able to catch at less than 10 acres in size. That left 6 that we weren't able to catch. 5 of them are right here in this complex, and then the other one would be in the rail fire. This complex of 5 fires, you know, I need to give a shout out to one of your own here, Tyler Wright, that works here in this community. He did an excellent job leading his crews, our crews, the local initial attack folks in catching most of these fires. You know, I think he had 12 of those 15. But that's not also to say that these other ones, the Canyon, 2 Cabin, Holmes, and Kinzu, he was able to get in line that first night. The problem was that's a lot of fire spread out over a large geographic area, and we're really concerned about the ability to support firefighters and the vast number of firefighters that we were going to need to be able to put those fires to bed. And so we ordered the incident management team to come in and help us with those. And fortunately, we did that. I was kind of concerned that that's not a lot of fire to have them manage. We in-briefed them, I can't remember days anymore, but it was whatever day it was, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in-briefed them here in Fossil. They took over the 4 fires, started getting their feet underneath them, and I think it was that evening about 6 p.m., about the time we gave them command of those 4 fires, is when service fire took off. With assistance from the team, we were able to make a heck of a stand on that fire. Unfortunately, with the winds, that next day, I think there was a spot over the line at around 7 in the morning, and it was gone from there. Even with the resources right there on the fire all night long and that morning. So first, I want to express my gratitude for the community, not only just Fossil, but also Spray. I think we had some presence in Monument and also up in Long Creek. We've been all over this country for months now. It's been a long summer. And I appreciate everything you all have done to support us and be with us and help us out. Also gratitude to the local landowners that we couldn't have put line around many of these fires and caught them at the sizes they were without everybody coming together and working together. It was definitely a complete and coordinated system in suppressing, or at least getting them caught and getting those smaller ones off the map, and also what the efforts that's happening right now on the service fire. Also want to say my heart really goes out to everyone in this community that has been impacted by this fire here and any of these fires all summer long. This has been an unprecedented summer. It's been wearing on, I know it's been wearing on me and my staff and everybody else, and I can't imagine what it's all done to you. Like I said, between Lone Rock and Service and every one of these little ones, we got Shoe Fly just to the south of us and Rail. It's been a doozy. Next, I want to thank Oregon State Fire Marshal for mobilizing quickly and helping us out. I'm not aware of any structures burned or lost yet on this fire. And I think with all the fire we've seen across the landscape this year, especially in this Wheeler and Grant counties. I think those numbers are relatively low all the way around. I know we lost some on Lone Rock, but I'm not aware of too many more than that. Couldn't have done it without them. And then next, thank ODF Incident Management Team 2. I don't know what we would have done if we wouldn't have had you here is when this thing took off and your willingness to take this over. It made the difference, I think, in our efforts here. You know, yeah, we do have 22,000 acres. This thing could have definitely been a lot larger without those resources right there at the time of the fire taking off. So we got a lot of work left ahead of us, though. You know, I don't know the exact numbers, but I bet just in the John Day unit, we probably have 500 plus miles of dozer line that we need to do repair work on. And I don't know how many places of fence that we need to fix and other suppression repair on all the fires, whether it's rail, telephone, falls, Battle Mountain, Lone Rock, this fire, Shoe Fly. And I guess what I'm getting at is we're going to be in this community for a while. We got weeks, if not months, of work left to do. We are going to probably be here. We'll have some sort of presence here, larger than just our normal crews. And so appreciate everything you've done for us so far, and just expect that you're going to see quite a bit of folks still dealing with these fires for weeks and months to go. Also, the Department of Forestry and the John Day unit, we're working real hard to kind of mobilize a group of what we call stewardship foresters to work with landowners in managing their timber resources. They are mobilizing kind of to the John Day area, going to be looking at all these fires that we've had over the summer and giving us some good statistics and maps of where the impacted acres are, who the impacted landowners are, by how much they're impacted, whether it's grazing ground or timber ground, and then start working with our partner agencies, whether it's the SWCDs, Farm Service Agency, NRCS, and anybody else that's partnering in the restoration and recovery to help landowners to recover from the damages of the fire, the actual fire burning on their property. That's going to be a long process. I'd be surprised if we're done in 5 years, the restoration efforts of reseeding ground that needs to be reseeded with trees, building fence, whatever it may be. We've got a long road ahead. So with that, I think that's all my comments, and I'll be here after the meeting and willing to talk to any and all of you, answer any questions you may have. But again, thank you, and thank Oregon State Fire Marshal and ODF Team 2.
Great. Thank you, Dustin. As is customary, as we wrap up this portion of it, we'll close with our incident commander, Matt Howard.
Hey, good evening, folks. Again, my name is Matt Howard. I'm the incident commander for ODF Incident Management Team 2. My day job, I'm the district forester for the Northeast Oregon District. I'm based out of LeGrand. I live in Walhalla. We cover Umatilla County, Union, Baker, and Walhalla County. I've lived in Walhalla for 25 years. If I blink hard enough, I could be in Walhalla right now. Small town, local community. I work day in and day out with folks just like you up in Walhalla County, Union County, Umatilla County. I feel at home. I don't enjoy coming to these big fires, but I enjoy coming to these communities because I've got a passion for the landowners and the values that the landowners have of their ground. Over 2 million acres of protection in the Central Oregon District. Am I right? Yep. That's a lot of acres. There's a lot of landowners. Every landowner values their ground a little bit differently. Every landowner's, how they value their ground is important to us with the Department of Forestry. There isn't one landowner whose values are more important. They're all equally important. That may be a little corny to think about, but every landowner, how they value the ground is important to us. You folks are paying your fire patrol assessment for the Department of Forestry to provide fire protection. These folks have done a heck of a job. Dustin Gustavus and Kyler Wright. They have done one heck of a job this summer. They've done one heck of a job on this little complex of fires we've got here. I'm going to correct Dustin on one thing. He said they caught all but 5. They actually did catch 4 and had a line around the 5th one. When we took this fire over, this complex of fires over on Friday, every fire had a line around it. Kinzu, Canyon, 2 Cabin, Homes. They worked through the night. They handed us a good package that next day. The incident management teams we roster 50 personnel, and we come from all across the state, literally all across the state. Folks leaving their day jobs, leaving their families for weeks on end. When we're done here, my incident management team alone will have been out 45 days. We got 3 incident management teams. Joe Hessel's incident management team down on Shoefly. This is their 4th assignment. This is our 4th assignment. We got a team leaving Klamath Falls. Tomorrow, it's their 2nd assignment. They're going to be out a 3rd time, likely coming in behind us. We come to serve the agency administrators, and that's Rob Penzer, Dustin Gustavus is a unit forester. And it's important for us to be able to provide that service as an extension of the complete coordinated system. It's what I think you folks pay your fire patrol assessment for. You pay that assessment for that initial attack, and these folks have done one heck of a job for you this year. Northeast Oregon District, we haven't caught them all in. We had a number of large fires like Central Oregon District. I think out of the 1.3, 1.5 million acres burned in Oregon, several 100,000 is in Central Oregon District, in your country, and also in the Northeast Oregon District. So I feel for you. I echo Dustin's sentiments. You folks have been through a lot this summer. When we took these fires on Friday, like I said, we had the 2 Cabin fire was lined, Canyon fire had a line on it. I was watching the initial attack from my office in Wallowa. Heck of a job, Tyler, for you guys. The Holmes fire and the Kinzu fire, this had a big wind on it, pushing it hard. The report on our coordination call that Thursday evening was this fire could be anywhere from 400 to 800 acres. When we arrived that next day, they caught it at 96 that night. And that's just incredible for me to think about that, knowing the fire severity conditions that we've had over the years, over the summer, and the weather that these folks were contending with. So when we arrived on Friday, we were in really good shape with these fires. That evening, as Dustin mentioned, the service fire took off. Great coordination again with the local fossil ODF. One of ODF's primary missions, the primary mission, is to manage the complete coordinated system. The complete, for firefighting, the complete coordinated system is not just ODF, it's not just the Forest Service, it's not just the State Fire Marshal's office, our county, our law enforcement folks. It's our industry operators, it's our landowners. We cannot be successful as a department without a complete coordinated system. 3 primary agencies cannot be successful without the complete coordinated system. You put the Department of Forestry, the Forest Service, the BLM, the State Fire Marshal Office, and their coordination with the structural groups, pretty formidable force. What I've seen throughout the summer this year, and I've seen it my whole career, is the forest industry coming to battle and the landowners stepping in, protecting their own. And there was no exception here. So my hat's off to you for the work that you've done here and the community that you live in, the perseverance and the grit that you folks have. As Dustin said, this fire's about just under 22,000 acres right now. It could have been a lot worse. We're pretty fortunate for the rain that has come. This map here is a progression map. You can see the initial size. This is day 2, the yellow is day 3, day 4, and as we move out, The winds you folks get out here are incredible, and coupled with this fire-prone ecosystem that you folks live in. The fact that Dustin talked about 20-plus fires on that initial lightning bust, and they caught most all of those, is just super good. Want to throw a shout out to Jeremiah Holmes. He's your Fire Defense Board Chief. I've watched Jeremiah from a distance. I haven't talked to him very much this week here because he's been super busy, and I've been up in Spray. But that fellow over there is carrying a mountain of weight on his shoulders as your Fire Defense Board Chief, and he is representing this community extremely well. His coordination with the Department of Forestry, with the local ODF office, coordination with the State Fire Marshal's office. I talked to Mariana Louise Temple, the State Fire Marshal, herself a couple of days ago. She's in daily contact about over these fires with Jeremiah, and he is representing you folks well. And the fact that you have the State Fire Marshal here today, the fact that there are no homes or structures lost on this fire right now is due to the proactive nature of Mr. Holmes over there, bringing in the right resources. So just want to lift up one of your locals for the great work that's being done right here in your community. This is day 6 for our incident management team. We'll be here through our 14-day assignments. We run on 14-day assignments. We'll be here through next Thursday. There will likely be a team coming in behind us to finish up the work that we have not completed, and likely to help Dustin and the Central Oregon District out on a lot of that suppression repair. A couple things that we haven't talked about. We've got a highway closure on 19 right now. It's going to remain, we're working closely with ODOT, they're a great partner with us. That highway is going to stay closed tomorrow, so we can complete some critical work. We've got crews in there right now, removing debris, mopping up along the highway. They're going to snag the road to make sure, remove hazard trees. The plan is Friday morning, ODOT's going to open the highway up. We're hoping that they're going to have some reduced speed signs in there. So folks in the community, we're still going to have firefighters in there on a daily basis until this fire is done. So we just ask that folks using Highway 19, just keep your speeds down a little bit. Keep an eye out for our firefighters. We are working day shifts. We are working night shifts. We are wearing yellow and green like John's got on here. But we are awful hard to see at times, especially at night. So just some care with that. It's our pleasure to come here and to serve you folks. So again, this group of folks that you have here within your local ranks, to include the Department of Forestry, your Fire Defense Board Chief and your structural counterparts. I didn't mention the Rangeland Fire Protection Associations, but they are a critical partner as well, as they have been busting their butt all summer long, protecting their own ground. So appreciate the time, I appreciate the attendance here, I appreciate the hospitality. We're going to have, we already do have about 1,500 people. We are going to move our camp and spray up to Fossil on Friday. So we'll be a few miles out of town. Large field, I'm not exactly sure where it is, probably over this way a bit. But we will have about 1,500 people in town. We're going to do our best to be good guests here. And thank you for allowing us into your community to help you folks out.
Thank you, Matt. That ends our formal briefing and fire update. As we mentioned in the beginning, our staff will be here. We'll be around the maps in front. Feel free to come up and visit with us if you have any questions or comments. Thank you all for coming.